Today I'll show you how to get better panoramas out of your quadcopter. In the last few years, quadcopters have come on a long way. With the panorama feature built into the quadcopter, it's great because it'll actually stitch these images together and give you a JPEG final panoramic view. It actually means you can get closer to the subject and then shoot a wider shot to get everything in. This actually gives you a higher megapixel count for the shot, getting more detail and more quality in the shot. Now, the panorama feature in the camera does produce a stitched image, but it's only a JPEG. Sometimes the image that the camera stitches together are really good, other times it misses the mark or it doesn't quite get the exposure or the sky right. When this is the case, there are things that you can do to produce better panoramas. The first thing you need to do is to switch on this function, which saves the individual files that it takes before stitching the panorama together. It'll actually save them in a different file, but they'll all be there on your SD card. So this is what I do to get a good panorama. Set the camera to RAW. Switch on Save Individual Files. I always shoot in manual mode with the highlight warning switched on. Once I find a subject that would really suit a panoramic image, I'll fly the drone into position and then start the automatic panorama sequence. Go to Advanced Camera Settings, go to Camera, Picture, and select Pano. You have three options. I usually choose 180 as the results from the 360 tend to be a little bit mixed. Then point the camera at the middle of the subject and press the shutter button and wait for it to complete the procedure. Once it's completed the procedure, what you'll find is it'll stitch the image together in a JPEG. As long as you have set individual files switched on, you'll have all of the individual photos that the camera took. Once you're back at home and you've uploaded all of the images to your computer, this is where you need Lightroom or a similar program to stitch them all together into a panorama. If you don't have Lightroom, I've put a link in the description below. This will take you to a free 30-day trial. Once you've put the SD card into your SD card reader, click on it and open up the file. You'll have a DCIM file, then you'll have the media file. This has all the raw files and the JPEG images that the drone creates. However, the individual panorama files will be in this panorama folder. You can see it puts each panorama sequence into its own individual folder. This is great because you don't have to hunt around for them or have them lost amongst other images. As you can see, it's taken each shot in the panorama. Next, you want to copy these panorama files to your hard drive. I'm just going to drag them to the desktop for now for this example. If you're not sure how to store your files, click on the eye in the corner. This will take you to another of my videos showing you how to do this. Next, open Lightroom. You want to import your files, so click on File and then Import Photos and Video. Then find the location where you copied them to. Obviously, I copied them to my desktop, so I'll just find the folder and then click on Import. It may take a while for them to import depending on how fast your system is, so this might be a time to go and grab yourself a cup of tea. Once you've imported all of your images, select them all, then right-click, select Merge, and Panorama. Then you just have to let the computer do its thing. If your system is quite old, it may take a while, but let it process the image and then it'll come up with a preview. Once it's merged the image, you'll have three projection options: spherical, cylindrical, and perspective. Generally, with panoramas from a drone, spherical or cylindrical will work best. Also, you have this boundary warp slider. You basically want the horizon to be as flat as possible, and this is where you can change that. I keep auto crop switched on and auto settings switched off. Then I'll click on merge. Once the process is finished, you'll see that Lightroom will create a whole new image. So you'll still have the raw individual files and also this new raw panorama. With this complete stitch, you can see there is still a bit of distortion down here in the right-hand corner. So I'm going to click on the crop tool. I'm going to change the aspect ratio to 17:6. This is normally a really good aspect ratio for a panorama. So just grab the tab in the corner and reframe it. It's going to keep the 17:6 aspect ratio. I'll just frame it how I want it. I was thinking I'll keep the mountain in the middle. I might have a look at it off center, but actually it works better with the mountain in the middle. Then I'll double click on the image to come out of the crop tool. I could have got a photo like this with a normal framing by moving the drone further back and then cropping in afterwards, but then the resolution would have been a lot lower. You can see this one is over 9,000 by 3,000 pixels, so it's a very big image. Next, I'm going to edit the photo as normal. If you're not sure how to edit in Lightroom, click on the eye in the corner or the link in the description to my editing Lightroom video. Once you get it to where you want it, it's time to export the image. Click on File and Export, then you'll have this menu come up. I'll choose Folder Later, then give it a custom name. I'm just going to call this one Panorama Desert. As I'm just exporting for the web, I'll resize to fit and I'll change this one to 4,000 pixels along the long edge. I'll click on Export and I'll choose a location where to put it. For this example, I'm going to put it on my desktop once again. After exporting this image, I wasn't really happy with the aspect ratio, so I went back into Lightroom and changed the aspect ratio once again, giving me this slightly smaller panorama. This is the beauty with Lightroom. You can chop and change the settings around. It'll keep the original file, so if you don't like a file that you've exported, you can go back into Lightroom, change it and export it once again. Now if you look at the final images, I have the DJI JPEG image. It's 4.2 megabytes, it has an approximate dimension of 6,000 by 2,000 and the resolution is 72 dots per inch. With the raw file that I created, even though I've cropped in on it, I can still export an image over 9,000 by 5,000 pixels. Also, I could export it at 240 dots per inch, which would mean it would be suitable for printing. If I put the images side by side, you can see I've been able to bring out more detail from the raw file. I probably could have dropped the exposure a little bit more, but the aim of this tutorial is to show you how you can get a better high-resolution panorama by stitching the images in Lightroom afterwards. And that's about it. I find that shooting panoramas this way gives me a much better quality image. I used to use the auto function and just use the JPEGs, but I found time and time again it wouldn't quite produce what I wanted. So I switched it to RAW and made sure it saved all these individual files, and then I just stitched them together in Lightroom afterwards. If you have any other tips of shooting panoramas from a drone, let me know in the comments below. It'd be great to hear your thoughts. As always, if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. And for weekly tutorials, hints and tips in photography and videography, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll see you next time.